Couple of points I was thinking, well, before I came here, and they were kind of enhanced by what you said, in that the whole metaphor of doomsday for 2012 is not only, I mean, it's wrong on so many counts. Not only would
Yeah.
we simply, I'm pretty sure, be proven factually wrong next Friday, but
Yeah, that's the problem with,
it's also,
you know, you can go down through history going, you know.
but
Nope.
it's also
It's all over.
still that whole thing, which is exactly what I think your whole point is against. If we are artists of consciousness, we don't need, and we are not defined by some big external happening to us, whether
Yes.
that, you know, the judgment of God, or, you know, a huge natural disaster,
Mhm.
which of course will kill us all. And also, it's kind of interesting, because this applies probably a little bit more to 1212 too. When people saying, well, these numbers are just human constructs, and I'm going, exactly, and that's the whole point. We are artists of consciousness,
Yes.
so that history, this was made the 12th month through circumstance, then these are the decisions that we made, these are the choices that we made, this is what we created without even intending it.
Yeah, yeah.
But quickly, so don't go on, what I'm thinking of at this time, at the end of the fifth world, or whatever it is I see, at least in the Western world, three forces that should not be fighting against each other, but are doing that.
Mhm.
And first is, I think, represented by a lot of people here, what we call Aquarian thought, which includes Native American things, probably Eastern thought in this country. A lot of hodgepodge and inconsistencies among people in our crowd, but it's still there. And then the second is the Judeo-Christian, with an emphasis on the Christian here.
Mhm.
And the third is scientism and scientific rationalism and atheism, which is actually growing, particularly among the young. How do you see what you're talking about here as finding the common ground between these three things, which I think
I think it's a great question, because I think that that's part of the responsibility of storytellers, and about how do we frame the story that we're actually involved in. It's like Doreen, Doreen Peretz, who actually is in my lover's archetype. I quote her. She's a remarkable poet. And we've been talking about presenting about really with her writing and poetry and the use of archetype, because we're really trying to find ways of languaging what if we address who we think we are differently. Now, we can't do that en masse in the sense that, there's some great, it's coming from on high. But I'm convinced if we look at how the body heals itself, it really is these different agreements where people start to say, you know what if we create a new context? Because one of the things I find is that what I'm trying to do is to consciously create context for a different conversation that says it doesn't have to be one thing at the expense of another, one thing against another. As a matter of fact, I like telling the story upstairs with George Bush and sofa, and I'm working on the sofa as well, because I realized if you look at that as good guy, bad guy, you're misunderstanding the point of reality. You're actually saying, no, the question of being human is so vast that all of these different lenses are bringing to the table the sense of, to me, this is what is necessary or important. And if that is only in anger or fighting, then essentially that's the voice we're going to hear. But I'm convinced that there's actually a much more of an autoimmune reaction going on, that we're going to understand in coming times that it wasn't those who barked most loudly or were against things most vociferously, but that as that white noise, as that din was going on, it was as if people were recognizing, you know what, I can't change that, but maybe we can have a conversation, maybe we can remind each other, maybe we can start to share an enthusiasm, a sense of what's possible, and because we hold that, and that's why I like to use the metaphor here, literally give it resonance, then it will start to grow. I think what happened upstairs is a proof in point, meaning that the reason that happened is because it was given resonance. It was not, in a sense, given argument. It wasn't told why it couldn't exist. And that's why I think our great tool now is that we can actually say, well, what is it that I can actually allow to exist? And even if it's maybe optimism about the human spirit, maybe that's my job. maybe I am the cockeyed optimist. You know, maybe I am the one that had to show up on the planet and go, I know it looks dark, but what the hell? We're all going to die anyway. So why don't we live more interestingly in the meantime?
There's been like an end of the world for various species like because of human encroachment or, habitat destruction or us using other species as resources to sustain our own species. And so, now that there's this idea that the human race might come to an end, there's this big hullabaloo about, the Mayan calendar. Whereas all along, we've been taking advantage and creating little ends of the world for the rainforest and the coral reefs and all of these species that really are all part of the web of life. And so I just wanted to kind of share that and see if you had any, ideas to expand upon that.
Well, I did a drawing of the Watchers, and but they're actually entities, and they're like some are becoming cats, some dogs, some rocks, some chairs, some people. We're so used to like this isolated, I'm a human being. And the one thing I didn't get into because it was just too much, but a heron visited me, came into the house. And it said a very interesting thing to me. It's, talk to animals. But it said, you make a mistake. You assume that all is human consciousness, rather than all is consciousness. And therefore, everything is about human sensibilities. And I think that when we understand that we are a maturing planetary species that has lived within a bioorganic feedback system, and that when we start to really take to heart the fact that, a sparrow falls, it is heard, it is known. It's not something that is not known. And we start to say, well, why have all of these different things sacrificed themselves? Why has this been ongoing? But I also like to point out very quickly, listen, we human beings are all going to die as well. In a sense, our end date is already a fixed goal, so we all perish. So the question becomes, since we are all perishing, how will we live in the meantime? And that, I think, when we look at the dishonor of nature, the dishonor of woman, the dishonor of just fellow human beings, the dishonor of the dignity of a human being, we start to see that what we're looking at is a feedback system that is telling us we are completely out of balance. But I think we're going to discover an even greater loving key underneath it that said, you are so remarkable. Your capacity is so great. Your compassion is so knowing. But until you struggled to make this your own, until you realized that you had to wear the robes of all of these sorrows, because they're not some of yours, they are all of ours, meaning that we have to take responsibility for everything. And that's why I don't feel this in a depressed way. I actually feel it in a very heroic sense that there's nothing wrong with what's going on right now. There's everything right. Because what it will do is it will really create in human beings more and more of a capacity to say, that is not me and them. This is completely a relationship where I'm starting to say, how can I change the inner landscape? Where am I unhealthy? Where am I polluted? Where am I letting the species within myself go extinct? That's very important, because then we start to not make it in the template of us and them and the bad guys and the this and that. We really start to say, no, we are the embodiment and the living theater of these things. So that's the... Can I do a little invocation with you people? Can we stand up? Because I'd like to just take a breath and to allow ourselves to breathe in this, and then stand up. I want to just do a little mantra together that I think is going to be healthful. This came from being in front of the mirror. And that's why a lot of this is gathering ourselves from all directions. And that, as I say, there's really nothing to learn at this point. There's nothing wrong with any of us. That what we're trying to do is to reclaim a sense of center, a sense of, I am meant to be in this play, I'm meant to be here, and I'm meant to play the part I'm meant to play. So let me play it well, and let me play it wisely. And that's where we create the better theater of who and what we are. And so that's why I say that in this, it's this relationship of reaching up And so I'll just do this. It's a bit like calisthenics. You can follow me. We'll reach up, and as we do, we reach up saying, I love. See, you're going up toward that sky, I love. Now we take that hand and we bring it down toward the earth saying, I think. And then we bring that hand up to the left going, I. And I want a panoramic vista. Am. And then bring that right hand to the heart. Alpha. That left hand to the heart. Omega. Seed. Left hand out. Right hand out. Blossom. Both hands to the belly. Infant. To the third eye. Ancient. To the left. Female. To the right. Male. Then male. Oh yes. And then I. Okay, back to the heart. I with right hand. I. It's like the Pledge of Allegiance. M. Alpha. And I want this omega to be O, and I want it to gather right over your genitals. I want it to come omega. Seed. Blossom. Pretty nice, huh? Okay. One more time for good luck? Okay.
Real quick.
I love. I think. I am. Alpha. Omega. Seed. Blossom. Infant. Ancient. Female. Male. I am. Alpha. Omega. Seed. Blossom. Happy 12-12-12. Bless you all. Thank you. That was fun.